Hello from Durban, South Africa. My name is Alan Khan, and it's my honor and privilege to be the moderator for today's discussion, which is part of the What Women Want workshops at the Global Women Empowerment Summit, which today is coming live from MyTech in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. But interestingly, I'm based in Durban, South Africa, together with my wife and fellow panel member, Dr. Mariam Seedat, who I'll introduce to you in a short while, and then new friends who I've just met over WhatsApp, and nice to see them today on this virtual platform from Sydney in Australia. I'll introduce you to Wassim and Gina Dabboussi. We will obviously be really happy to receive any questions or comments as we get into our conversation today, which is on relationship taboos. And if you are in a relationship, I'm sure you may have encountered some of the areas that we're going to be discussing today. And whilst we will focus on relationship taboos, between you and your partner, we'll also talk about relationship taboos at the workplace, amongst best friends, and even on social media, which has now captured the world. Firstly, let me introduce you to one of our panel members today. Gina Dabboussi has been in education for 20 years. She's a mother of 3 grown boys. Having a career while raising a family is of equal importance to Gina because she aims to set the best example that she can for her boys and to see the value in family and career. Making both work, no matter how busy she may get. Gina is a coach for students where she believes that results are not the only thing that should be driving students. She works towards showing her students that they have the tools and resources within themselves to reach their full potential and in turn learn how to inspire those around them. I say good day in Sydney, Australia to Gina Dabboussi. Welcome, Gina.
Thank you very much, Alan. It's nice to be here.
Then closer to home is Dr. Mariam Seedat Khan. She's one of only 40 internationally certified clinical sociologists in the world, one of 3 who are resident in South Africa. Mariam is accredited and certified by the Association for Applied and Clinical Sociology. She's the head of sociology, industrial sociology and social policy at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. As a cancer survivor, academic, practitioner, researcher, teacher, facilitator, and a good South African, her work focuses on optimizing learning for all recipients of knowledge. Mariam graduated with her PhD in 2006, and she has since used her knowledge and skills to develop the SMART program, which means simply managing academic-related tasks. Her group has more than 11,500 members from 103 countries across the globe. Mariam is a winner of the Woman of Wonder Award in 2018. I say sabona to Dr. Mariam Seedat. Welcome, Mariam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And then joining me, balancing the gender status on this panel today, is Wassim Dabboussi. He has been in the personal development scene for over 17 years. Wassim has started his journey when he wanted to increase his income to be a better provider, protector, and leader for his family. Wassim was at that time, that's when he had realized that he had a fixed mindset, and only by changing that to a growth mindset that he could be, and that he wanted to be in a position where he could do anything that he wanted. Wassim is an advocate for healthy, harmonious, and happy families. As a coach and strategist, Wassim is passionate about teaching entrepreneurship and personal development in order to help raise people's consciousness and ultimately to have a positive impact on the world and to leave a long-lasting legacy behind. From Sydney, Australia, good day to Wassim Dabboussi.
G'day, Alan. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. Appreciate it.
So now that we know who's on the panel, let's just start the conversation because we only have 40 minutes to go. If you want to have your say in the conversation, please just enter your question or comment, and we'll then get to those during the course of the discussion. So relationship taboos, maybe Gina, if I could throw the ball in your court. What's your sense regarding relationship taboos? Have you encountered any relationship taboos in your own personal space? And, what does the topic mean to you?
So for me, the topic means that a lot of the time when our values don't align, so it could be either with our own significant other, but also other people that we work with, our families, our children. And I think if we don't really allow for values to align, that's when it becomes I guess the word taboo that we're using today, but it becomes challenging in the relationship. So if we don't work together, where all of those things align, it's going to become challenging throughout a relationship. So I know for myself where family is a very big value for me, but I also know that it is for Wassim as well. So that's never been an issue for us, where family has always been something that comes first. And it's about us making promises to each other that we make sure that we keep. Whereas it becomes taboo when, and it can happen in a working relationship as well, where one person could value time much more than another person. So if that other person doesn't value time, it becomes, I guess, taboo within that relationship, where it's going to become challenging and where issues start to arise between the two people. So I think to sum up what I think about it, it really has a lot to do with having to align values, and then that's the way that a relationship can really start to work. And of course, even if your values align, there are going to be those ups and downs, but you can easily work through them because you know what you value, what each other values.
I think well said. You incorporated an important word, which is values, and hopefully we'll chat further on that during the course of the discussion. I just want to say hi to Tivya Ramesh, who's part of the conversation today. Says, hello, everyone. I'm Tivya from Malaysia. Nice meeting our speakers today. Thank you, Tivya, for joining us on Relationship Taboos. Dr. Mariam Seedat, in terms of relationship taboos, what does the topic mean to you, and any experiences that you could reflect on in your own personal development?
Hi, thank you for that question. I think for me, relationship taboos intersect along different levels in the workspace, in the family space, and in the social space. And I think when we speak about subscribing to the same values, which is a very significant point that has been raised, I think difference of opinion and difference of ideas must be accommodated. And I think that's also a very healthy component. As couples, we know that, we don't always agree, and we have different opinions. We have two boys, and we always have very robust debates. I think that is important because it shows, it teaches our children that it's okay to disagree, but still love each other. And it's okay to have a difference of opinion in the workspace, but still respect each other. And it's okay to disagree with your nearest and dearest, whether it's family or friends, but still love them unconditionally. I think many people cannot differentiate between those. So relationship taboos, for me, have to consider that because a lot of relationships are destroyed based on positive or constructive critique. And for those of us that are spouses or parents, we know we have to develop really thick skins to be able to separate those two. I see Wassim and Alan shaking their head in agreement.
Well, Wassim is having something to drink, so it's probably dried up his throat as well. So I'm just intrigued, before you share your ideas on the topic. You've got a grand piano over your shoulder. Any taboos when it comes to who gets to play the piano first in the Dabboussi household?
No, not at all. I'm not a big. I don't play the piano, so it's for the kids and everybody else that comes in. So yeah, for me, I suppose relationship taboos is around that as we grow and as our cultures become so intertwined globally, as the world becomes more global and globalization, and we are connected. One of the challenges we face in the relationships is that how do these multicultural, multi-valued or different valued, like Gina and Dr. Seedat said, how can we combine those in a relationship? And I think sometimes the taboo can be when someone is out there changing and moving forward to allow different type or new types of relationships, interracial, intercultural, etc. Obviously, I'm talking here from a partner and an intimate relationship. Sometimes this is still, in a lot of places around the world, is still a taboo. So as we develop this can be something very positive if we allow these multiracial and multicultural relationships to come together, because it allows more understanding of others and will cause more harmony around the world. And I think sometimes we have people stuck in their old ways, with their fixed mindsets and want to keep the status quo, etc. And whenever that changes, that can cause a lot of taboo in certain cultures.
All right, thanks for that. I think it's an excellent point that you've made, especially regarding culture, race, and the world is a smaller place now, due to the spread of the digital revolution. And, you may not just have physical relationships, you could have virtual relationships, like we're having this conversation this morning. Gina, do you necessarily think that taboos are something negative?
No, I think that I think it's probably the way that people view them. So it's about perception and how we approach it. So do we approach it with a way to try and overcome something and speak together, either as a couple or friends or whatever it is? Because I think a lot of the time it's just people get, I guess, anxious about trying to approach a topic, and either they leave it as something silent, which could slowly over time eat away at the relationship, or if they're ready to have that, I like to call them, at work I call them all sorts of things, but I always say to my colleagues, you need to be ready to have the hard conversation or the difficult dialogue or whatever label we want to put on it. It's about being able to have that hard conversation. And then I say to especially colleagues at work, the more you think about it sometimes, and the more you stress over it, you'll find that once you actually have that conversation, in the moment, maybe, minutes or whatever that are difficult, but afterwards you'll feel better because new boundaries are set between you in that relationship, whether it's friendship or a couple. It's about renewed boundaries, and whether those are, I guess we see so many couples these days ending in divorce. Sometimes those renewed boundaries do mean no longer having any relationship.
All right. So another comment coming through from Mala Durasamy in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Thank you, Mala, for joining the conversation today. Dr. Mariam Seedat, regarding taboos, and you being an academic and probably well researched in various areas, do you have an idea, where did the taboo originate and what would constitute a taboo?
Well, thank you for not making me research that in advance. No competitive advantage here. But taboo is something generally that is not normative. It does not fall within our value system, or it makes it differentiates. It's out of the ordinary. So somebody that obeys the law follows the norms, and somebody that breaks the law is a criminal. So taboos are things that society frowns upon. And both Gina and Wassim raised some very important points, and I want to pick up on three of them. And the common thread: globalization, resilience, and perseverance. I think we have to be very honest about this conversation. Relationships with our children, with our colleagues, and with our spouses takes a lot of work every day, and we're not always right. And there are days where we just want to throw our hands up in the air, and more so the women than the men, because women are often always right. Gina, you want to agree with me there? But I think the biggest challenge, and Wassim and Gina both touched on it, is this whole notion of globalization and this generational gap. I mean, I know for myself, I grew up in a very different time. When we asked, but why, to our parents, it was, well, because I'm the parent and I said so. I mean, that doesn't fly with our kids, and I'm sure it doesn't with yours either, you know. Um, and these are the kinds of we socially construct these new taboos, and actually there are no taboos because we have to provide logic and sound reasoning. And I'm so glad that I'm an academic and a researcher because I can back up everything with detailed information, but it doesn't always work because I have to concede sometimes because we're often wrong, and that's difficult for us coming from where we are, where the elders have always been right, and it's about respect. But there's also, again, the respect or the logic. There's a fine line between the two.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mariam Seedat. What I enjoyed is that you said women are most often right. I'd like to correct that, if I may. Women are always right. Wassim, because Harry Belafonte, who was a famous calypso singer, had a song called "Men Smart, Women Smarter," and I think that's that's the adage we as gentlemen we have to agree, especially because we're both married to such two amazing, dynamic, intelligent, and insightful women who are on the panel with us today. Do you think there's a difference, though, Wassim? Let's just take the parody and jokes aside. Look in the battle of the sexes between men and women, and considering our topic, relationship taboos. Are certain things more taboo for men as opposed to women, and vice versa?
It's a good question in terms of there is certain things that I think there's certain things that are less taboo for men than they are for women. However, I also think that in a relationship, most of the taboos that have come and where we're heading at the moment is sometimes forgetting that men and women are essentially different, and there's no such thing for us to generalize that men are right or women are right or wrong, or that a man's role is X or a woman's role is X, as long as the person is understanding of what their role is. And both of us are married to dynamic women who are very, very successful in their own right. And I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of people face when they are with successful women and women who are moving, have their own careers and successful in their own careers, sometimes men can sometimes feel threatened by that. And this comes down to the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And I think one of the biggest challenges facing relationships today, and why there's so many divorces or taboos around what men do or women should do in the household, is around that. Even though men and women can both be in their masculine and feminine energy at different places, we've got to understand where we fit in a relationship, because two masculine energies is like having two opposites. They will not two are the same. Like, you can't do two positives and two negatives. You've got to have a yin and a yang. So I think one of the biggest things that couples can do is understand that and have the conversation and allow each individual to be in their stronger power, which is whether masculine or feminine, and they having that yin yang will get rid of a lot of these battle of the sexes. For Gina and I can say that we've been together for 20 years, and early on it was challenging for us as we were young. We got married very, very young, and we're both very ambitious people, and we both wanted to be very successful. And as we're going down that path, we started locking heads because we both wanted to be right, and it didn't have to be about one being right, one being the other. You just had to understand that is how it is with a male, that's how it is with a female, and who's going to play which role. And once we got that understanding of each other's energy, we're able to support each other for both of us to succeed.
All right, thanks, Wassim. Thivya making some good comments online, saying that some do really well by following more traditional relationship rules, and others do better by breaking them. Chris-Anne says she agrees with Mariam, women are right. And earlier on, Thivya says that she agrees with you, Gina, that it is about how different people perceive it. So traditional rules, and let's take up the point that Thivya is raising, Thivya Ramesh, who's listening to us online. Thivya says some do really well on more traditional rules, and others are better by breaking them. Would you agree with Thivya, Gina?
So yeah, I saw that comment, and also what Wassim was saying about our masculine and feminine energy, and I think that happens. It could happen at different times as well. I know that there's been times where I would need to take on a more masculine, I guess, energy or feminine role, and I think what Thivia is probably alluding to is how we could be breaking rules of societal norms when we are moving into some sort of role. So I know, especially now at the moment, I'm a high school coordinator, so I'm out every day. My hours are very long, whereas Wassim is at home, and he does call me throughout the day. And for example, we'll say, what can I put on for dinner? Whereas it's a societal norm that it's usually the woman's role to cook dinner and everything. Whereas we bounce off each other and do what we can when we can, and we help each other out that way. That's how we just make sure we can follow what works for us. So I think what Thivia might be alluding to is about breaking those societal norms, I think. And sometimes when some relationships do that, break the rules or the norms, is when they're probably the best ones.
Well, as Wassim admitted that the two of you, Gina, are married. You guys are together for 20 years. Mariam and I have been together for 24 years. And I figured her out by now. When she has that smile and she has that slight wink with her left eye, it means she wants to pose a question. So am I right, Mariam? You want to ask either Wassim or I or both of us a question on the topic,
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes, I want to ask Wassim and you a question. Coincidentally, I've been asked this question a lot in the last few weeks. And, it's clear that both of you are very supportive of your partners and their careers. What is it that makes you be so supportive and not threatened by the success of your partner versus other men? Essentially, my question is, what is it that prevents the breakdown of other relationships or marriages where the woman earns more, where the woman is more successful by societal standards and making more money? What is it? What is that differentiating factor? And I know it's a very deep-rooted question, but I'm hoping that the two of you have some sort of answers, not only for me, but for our audience as well.
Thank you so much, Mariam. You should have at least warned me you're going to put me on the spot like this when you got up this morning. Wassim, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I would love to answer that question. And I know a lot of people expect a very long, deep answer with a lot of different analogies. And it's actually very, very simple. The reason why I support Gina and she supports me 100% in any endeavors that we do is because it's not about her or I. It's about us as a unit, as one. So her success is my success. Whether she makes double or triple the amount of money that I'm making, that's not a problem because that's not her money. That's our money together. And the same vice versa, because we see each other as one. We've never had this separation. So her success or my success means both of us are succeeding. It's that simple. Just believing that you're one unit, you're two parts of a whole.
And
thank you.
Yes, Mariam, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. I said I like that. I really like that answer, but I think I need to teach Gina something. I agree. What's ours is ours, but what's mine is mine.
I have to say, Wassim, I support what you have shared, 100%. Regarding Mariam and I, and why I have adopted really from day one is that I interviewed Mariam on my talk show back in 1996. It was the 10th of September. I was working at a radio station called Capital Radio. It was based on South Beach in Durban. And Mariam walked into the studio at about 10 past 11 that morning. I still remember what she wore. She captivated me. When they say in the romance novels it was love at first sight, that's what it was. And the thing that captivated me during our discussion, and we were talking about street children and the census, which was going to count the homeless citizens of our city. And this was back in 1996, which was 2 years after our full democratic elections here in South Africa. So the transition from apartheid to democracy, one person, one vote, it was a fairly substantial time. And here to have this young lady who was given this immense challenge of not just counting citizens, but the homeless citizens, I was drawn to her intelligence and the insight. And I think to answer the question, Mariam, is that when you're happy, I'm happy. And really, it's been a thrill, privilege, and an honor to watch you flourish and succeed over the years, from 2 amazing sons, to your career, to now writing books, being on international panels, internationally certified. But I think at the end of the day, when I take away all of that, you're still someone who I desire to grow old with and enjoy the twilight of our years. So, that's why there's absolutely no need to be threatened. But Wassim, we can understand, I suppose, and I personally find it difficult to grasp this, but some men are threatened by the success of their partners. And, and some men then, do resort to doing some really strange, weird things when their partners are succeeding. What's your advice, Wassim, to men who may be in that position, who might be listening and hopefully trying to empower themselves on a global women empowerment summit? What would you like to tell those men who are tuning in and listening?
It's only natural. We've grown up as men to, and we are physical on sex. We've grown up over many years to be the hunters and the gatherers and the protectors. So it's in our DNA to want to be, the ones who are bringing in the most amount of money, so that we are the ones providing for the family. That is something that I completely understand why some men would feel that. But it comes down to, like you said, for you and Dr. Mariam, is after all of that, she's just someone you want to grow old with. So whether she has $1 million or whether she's not working, it doesn't matter. And I think when you understand that you are together as one and you are both providing for the family, it doesn't matter anymore who's making more money. And that will get rid of the insecurity. And I think for a lot of men that I've spoken to and I've coached over the years, is because they have some deep-seated insecurity that if they're not providing enough, they're not enough. And that comes down to conversations with your partner and understanding, and most women that I know who are very successful, make more money than their husbands, don't look at it as they are below them. They actually look at them as they're supporting them. So a lot of men have the fear of asking or having that conversation and seeing what her views are, what her beliefs are. And as long as they both have the belief that they're both equal in the relationship and the money is just, just money coming in, then it doesn't matter what each person's position in and who's making the more money, because then you don't have any insecurity about the relationship.
Well said, Wassim. Gina, and let's try and be as general as we can, not necessarily talking about your relationship with Wassim, but what are some of those uncomfortable conversations that you feel plague relationships that could be construed as being taboo by certain people?
Well, because I was going to say if I could comment a little bit further as well, because obviously it's a women's empowerment summit. And there could be some women, for example, who are in relationships where their partner is feeling threatened and they're not sure how to handle that. So that would actually be a very difficult conversation to have. How would a woman who is in a relationship where the man is feeling threatened, how could she approach the conversation? Obviously, that would come down to how she would also have to feel confident and comfortable in herself as well, in being able to ask him what it is that he needs for her to do, and vice versa, I think. Definitely, that's one conversation that could be, especially today, in today's world. A lot of women are very successful with home businesses and online businesses, and to be able to have a conversation like that, I think is one very difficult one to have. Other conversations would be more, on a personal level for the woman, how she could make or same thing again, vice versa. Making each other happy physically, I think, is a difficult conversation that a lot of couples might come across, because I guess there's a certain level of having to delve into your own self and knowing what you're comfortable with, and then being able to express that to your partner as well, and express it in a way where you're not going to feel like they're going to be, I guess, threatening back in some way. So yeah, I would probably say they're probably my two biggest things I could think of right now.
Okay, Moid Hashim says, here's advice. Honesty and openness are important in a relationship to get to know one another and to build trust in a relationship. You know, you could invest several hours, days, months, and years in building trust, but it just takes one moment of madness, weakness, or, you know, intentional deceit to destroy that trust. Mariam, when you have to look back onto, you know, your knowledge on the subject, and be careful now because, you know, you don't want to share too much with me. But, you know, regarding taboos and looking at our own relationship, you know, what would you like to share in terms of some of those areas that, you know, people could benefit from in dealing with certain taboos?
Okay, so I think every time I apply for a research grant, my first port of call is going to be Gina and Wassim, because I'm feeling so inspired by their responses. So imagine a family watching their mom out in the workforce and their dad working from home, getting dinner ready. That's socialization, that's learned behavior. You know, our children grow through different phases where they learn behavior. And this is a great step in the right direction. And our younger generation needs to see more of that. But more importantly, the taboo of relationships. Our boys, they start going to these school mixes from the age of about 12 or 13. And it's often Alan and I driving them to this party, and I have this conversation, and I can see Alan sinking further and further into the driver's seat. So I say to the boys, so boys, are you excited about the party? Yes, Mom, we're great. I said, okay, so do you know what rape is? And they're like, yes. And I said, so what if you ask a girl to dance and she says no? What do you do? Do you think what if you like a girl and, you know, you try and kiss her and she does, what do you do? And of course, you know, they generally 12 or 13 or 14, they don't want to answer the question, but I'm quite persistent. And, you know, so I get them to acknowledge it and have a conversation. And it's not just once, but it's every time we drop them off at a party. And to the point where they eventually get used to this conversation and they say, but, you know, Mom, Dad, how is it that none of the other kids have to be subject to this conversation every time they go to a party? Why do we have to have this conversation every time? And my response to them is because I don't want you to ever take women for granted. And as a parent, I don't ever want to bail my child out of jail only because I never gave you the knowledge and the skills. It's our responsibility as parents. So if we teach our children how to behave and respect both men and women, it's important. They learn this behavior. So these are all taboos and they're awkward. And I have to admit, the reason I do it in the car is because I'm looking straight in front of me. I'm not looking at them. So I'm a bit of a coward here. I have a long way to go, but I'm having the conversation, you know, and simple things like cleaning up and, you know, kids, boys or girls, they'll take advantage of parents. And I'm quite OCD. I like my house clean, neat, tidy, just like the ones, just as neat as the backdrop behind the both of you. And, I often, when I walk into a room and my sons are there or into their bedroom and it's not up to standard, I look around and, it's 19 and 21 years. And they keep saying to me, Mom, what are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for the crown. I'm looking for your crown. I'm trying to see, are you a king of some country? And I missed it. I do the same to Alan. I still haven't found the crown. So they get the message. So, we have to teach our kids this. And I want to say you're both doing a great job.
Can I interject there?
Sure.
Sorry, Alan, but very, very important point. I mean, I love the fact that you have that hard conversation with your children. And that is something that Gina and I have always, from a young age, we knew we had to have those hard conversations, obviously at the right time. And we have the belief, and I definitely have the belief, that my role as a father, and I've only got boys, but if I had girls, my role as a father is to teach them the one thing. The biggest lesson I have to teach my sons is how to treat their wives. And the way I do that is by demonstrating how I treat my wife. And if I had a daughter, my role would be for her is to teach her how she should be treated by a man. And the way I do that is by treating her mum the way that she should be treated. And I think if we take on that philosophy and having that openness, that will set the standard really, really high. And according to the conversations, I love that you do it. And I'm one of those fathers that always has those cringy conversations with my kids. But I actually look forward to them. I enjoy them. I have a bit of fun with my kids. And I do it at the table. And they start cringing like, Dad, we have to have this conversation. I'm like, yeah, we have to have it now. And then I really enjoy those conversations myself.
Did you have those conversations, with your parents when you were young, or is it a generational thing?
Oh, no. There was no way we could have those conversations with our parents. And one of the reasons why I want to have those conversations, because I wanted to, but I was just too scared to do it.
Just on the back of what Mariam was saying, Wassim, is that she does ask us for our crowns. And I keep on telling her the reason why we don't have our crowns is that you have the crown, my love. That's why you can't find it in our rooms. Gina, and I was going to touch on the point that Wassim just raised regarding sons and daughters. And let's just move away from, romantic, intimate relationships between people for now and talk about relationships with our children. Is it different? Are there taboos in what we would, discuss or conversations we would have depending on whether it's a son or daughter? And I realize you have two boys, and Mariam and I have two boys. But in general, do you think there are different things that are taboos for sons?
Three boys.
And three boys? Okay.
Yeah, we have three boys.
He'll be watching and he'll get very upset if he doesn't get mentioned.
Three boys.
I think, yes, there are some conversations, I have to admit, that especially as the boys did get older, I've said to them, I won't stop them. I do definitely, they'll ask me questions, and I always leave it open for them to ask me questions. And then there are some things where I myself start to feel a little uncomfortable. So I say to them, look, I think it's better if you speak to your dad about the details and, talk to your dad about it. And I think there are also some conversations, especially if there's a topic that is quite sensitive. We tell each other, and the boys know that. My eldest son said, yes, we really love the mum and dad team when you guys work up against us. So they know that we work as a team. And we actually say to them, your dad and I are a team. When you're doing something wrong, you need to know we talk to each other and we tell each other what's going on. So they know we're very open. And then they also know that we do give each other time. So Wassim will have his time alone. I will have my time alone. But then they all also know we bring that conversation together as well. So we have one where it could be the three of us, obviously, because each boy has their own situation. We also sometimes bring in the other sons and we say, you guys need to hear this as well. So it just depends on the situation and case by case. But definitely there are some things where I will leave it to Wassim because they are boys and I won't go into that. I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable as well sometimes.
Well, that's interesting, and thank you for being honest and sharing that with us. Chrisanne Sebastian Pillay says that respect, honesty, openness, understanding, being both a good listener and a communicator is important in a relationship. And Mala Durasamy in Kuala Lumpur says, Kevin and I share the same sentiments. It's about sharing and enjoying each other's success, never about who is more powerful. It's about love and not ego. Paul McCartney and John Lennon once wrote, in the end, the love you make is equal to the love you take, right? So it is all about love. And I think Wassim, Gina, and Mariam, you have raised this, the importance of love, oneness, being unified. We two are one. And that's the approach you need to take, I suppose, in relationships, whether it's between partners, between you and children. And, let's quickly touch on parents and friends and some of those other close relationships that we share. Because we are humans and we love to connect on that level. Any taboo subjects, Mariam, that you may have encountered regarding siblings, parents, friends, work colleagues?
I think it is about agreeability or non-agreeability, and I'm going to use the example of my sons because it's the first one that comes to mind. I often say to them, why can't you just, when I ask you to do something or do something, why can't you just listen to me? And they look at me with this really, or why can't you just agree with me? They look at me with the oddest expression. And they say, but Mom, you never just accept, anything at face value. You always have to flip it over and look at it from different perspectives. So I've created free thinking, or we have created these free thinking individuals. And sometimes I listen to them. My youngest son and I had a bit of a very robust discussion this morning. And
I heard.
Alan said to me, Alan said to me, oh my God, he sounds exactly like you. And while it was a bit upsetting, I thought to myself, this is great. He has his own opinion and, he's standing firm for what he believes.
Learned behavior, Mariam. That's what it is. Learned behavior. Wassim touched on it.
I'm
sorry to cut you short, my love, but we have around 2 minutes to go. Wassim brought to my attention an important comment that was posted online just now, where it was said that some fathers are not always with their kids. They're busy working, and it's a mother who does both father and mother duties. It's difficult. And how to raise your kids in this environment, Wassim, because that's the reality. We're living in a world where people are out earning an income. We're also living in a time where we have couples who separate. Kids are either living with their dad or their mum, or joint custody. Any advice in that area, Wassim, in under a minute?
First of all, I find the question a little bit challenging without too much information. I mean, if the father's literally away from the family in a different state or a different country working, then in this case, the answer is still the same. The answer to me is simply, as a father, it is your responsibility to make the time. Now, whether you are in a relationship where you are together, whether you are separated, or whether you're away in a different country, with today's technology, there's nothing stopping you from spending 10 to 15 minutes a day at least. And it's about quantity, not quality. I sometimes work, even though I work from home, there are times I'm working till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. There are times I'm up at 4. There are times I'm away. But it's about the quality, not the quantity of the time. It's about asking those questions and connecting with your children. Even if you've got 10 minutes, that will make a profound difference in your fathering, or I don't know if that's the word, your fathering skills and results are the words I'm looking for. So make sure that you intentionally spend time with them, not just spend time with them for the sake of spending time.
Thank you, Wassim, and thanks to Margaret Gabriel for that question. Just before Andrea comes in and tells us our time is up, the conversation, I'm going to quickly whip around the room with the panel and just some closing ideas and comments from you, Gina, on our topic today of relationship taboos.
I'd just like to say that working together, whoever you're with, children, parents, it is really about just being open, talking openly. Sometimes it is difficult for some people, and setting up that conversation in a way where both parties can be comfortable, and that's how you can get past those taboos.
Thank you so much, Gina. Mariam, any closing comments from your side?
Perspective. Always listen to the other person's perspective.
All right, short and sweet. Wassim, closing comments from you?
For me, it's also very, very simple. You know, if you both know that you are in this together with the same values and the same goals, and you know that you're both coming from the right place, even though you might have challenges and difference of opinion, at the end of the day, remembering that you both want the same outcome will actually help you find a resolution. So that's, for me, is one of the best ways to overcome any taboo in a relationship.
And the reality, thank you, Wassim, for that. The reality is that, what is taboo to one person may not necessarily be taboo to the next person, right? Because we're all different. But if it means something, if it has value to you, you will then both work at it to overcome that taboo. We didn't get to talk about taboo in the workplace. I wanted to touch on that, but we had so many other valid comments. The one thing I wanted to talk about, and very quickly, maybe I could grab you because Andrea hasn't come into the studio just as yet. Are there any taboos that could be regarded as strengthening a relationship? I know there are some people who, some couples will still sleep in separate beds, for example. If I'm not mistaken, members of the royal family from things that I've read. But do you think, that could strengthen relationships, having a bit of space?
I think space is good sometimes. Yeah, definitely.
I think space is good, but I don't know about sleeping in separate beds. Do not introduce any new ideas, please. There's one thing I actually did want to say to what you're saying is to overcome these taboos. It's just understanding that it's the couple versus the problem, not the problem is the couple. And I think that is when you have that mentality, whatever challenges you face, understand that the challenge is the problem and it's you and your partner against the problem, not against each other.
All right, we can't have a man have a last word at a global woman empowerment summit. And I've got to take care of my own interests here, so please excuse me. Mariam, what's your final words, my love?
I just thank you. I learned so much, and I have, I've taken so much out of today. And I just want to thank our panel members, Wassim and Gina, for sharing so openly. Really, I will definitely be in touch. You're my new muses.
Thank you.
We're meeting you.
All right, to Wassim and Gina Dabboussi in Sydney, Australia, to my better half, Dr. Mariam Seedat, who's upstairs, to Andrea and her team. Thank you for bringing the world together, Andrea, for this much-needed Global Women Empowerment Summit, the What Women Want workshops. To Mala Durasamy and her team at MyTech in Kuala Lumpur. Really, it's been a pleasure and a privilege. And thank you for supporting our conversation today, for sending us your questions and your comments, and most importantly, for helping to make our world a better place. My name's Alan Khan, and back to you, Andrea.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much, all of you. I really enjoyed the conversation. I was listening in the background, and I really think that the world needs this. You all know I'm a dancer, so I'm all for independent unions. So my tango teacher told me that every couple should be an independent union because we have to be strong alone and strong together, and that's how we can grow. And ever since he told me, I was living this because I believe this is the perfect balance in a relationship. So my hubby is sleeping now here next to me while I'm doing this summit on the floor of the MyTech. So it's like that's how it's going. So we support each other. When he has more things, I'm there for him, and I have things, I am there for him. And I think this conversation, what you showed us, is just thing that people can learn from it, like how it works in a relationship where there is, for me, what is the most important thing: communication and openness. Because without communication, without being how you say that, without complaining, but just sharing your opinion and explaining what you think in a relationship, right? What you mean with your words, or what does it mean because we don't think the same way. That's very important. And for me, then men and women, then I say there is there is no men and women. There are two people who are different, and because they are different, they have to explain their ways. And because we are different, the other part, the receiver, right? When in communication there's a receiver, you have to also see the other person's perspective and the motives behind it. Because when you see that someone who is doing bad maybe had a bad day, or maybe someone stepped on their toes, right? But it's not the person who is speaking, it's the reaction which is coming from an outside trigger. And then when you can slow this down and just see the perspective and the motivation behind that, it's so easy to be in a relationship, right? I don't think that then we would have so many difficulties, because even when someone is shouting, or we have some kind of any kind of disagreement, which happens sometimes, you know what happened, you know why it happened, and then you just slow yourself down and see it from outside, and like, oh, I was miserable today, why did I do that? Why did I say this? And then I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm really not afraid of saying sorry, because anyone can be like in a bad position, or anyone can have a bad day, right? So just say sorry and go on with it and talk about it. So don't go to the bed with an argument. That's also something that I learned on my side. So it was an amazing conversation. I am thankful again for all the experts. I really have to say that everyone is telling me, Andrea, how did you do that, and so on. I couldn't have done this without you, because I have to tell you, during the 4 days, not until today, I hope it will stay like this until 9 o'clock, no one was late. No one was really like, the discussions, what I heard, it was like, I would use a bad word, but I'm not doing bad words. I cannot I don't know. My mother put it inside me that I just cannot speak it out. So there is no speaking about nonsense things here. It's really deep value, and if people will look back at these videos and they just not just bulk watching it, but really like spending time with it and digesting it and making notes and then taking actions, they can really change their lives. Each and every. I was in a session before which was like make cry. Everyone was crying in that session. So it's so, for me, and this is when I see it from the outside, right? As a creator or as the organizer, it just warms my heart, because that's what I wanted to show, how different we are and how similar at the same time. And you are also from two different places, from all over the world. And you see, what is this? Like, you are talking about the same things, the same way.
Well, Andrea, it's so powerful hearing you say that. In 1995, I was blessed to have interviewed His Holiness the Dalai Lama when he visited South Africa. And he said at the very end of the interview, the beauty about life is that we all have the ability to help others. But if for some reason you choose not to, then for God's sake, don't hurt them.
Yeah.
And that encapsulates so much. And I think that's what you're doing. You're helping others. You're empowering people. And yes, you've labeled it as a Women's Empowerment Summit. But I think, Wassim and I and the other men who have participated, you're also helping us. And by that, you're doing so much good in the world. So thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart.
That was the goal, because we wanted to lose that label. So I will cross it over in my goodbye speech, because I wanted to lose this label, Women Empowerment Summit, because I think empowerment doesn't belong to women. Empowerment belongs to everyone. And we saw this summit that everyone has a different definition. You cannot just put one definition behind empowerment. I would just rather call it empowerment, and I would say everyone is saying and thinking about it whatever they want, right? How they can relate to it. How they can, of course, elevate others, enable others, help others, connect others. You can so many ways you can empower others, and you can see the colors of the summit, how the different topics are coming together, because in the life there are so many, many, many topics where you can empower through those topics, like financial or just storytelling or connecting the generations or mental health or anything. Those are places where you can empower others. So I don't want to talk so much, because someone just told me that I can talk so much. So, but I'm so inspired I'm really inspired because I was listening to you for 4 days now. I couldn't walk. I was sitting in front of my computer because I was doing all the broadcasts in the background. So,
And Andrea,
amazing job, guys. Amazing. You are all
Andrea,
amazing.
Andrea, can I just say, men like Alan and Wassim have a very important role to play in empowering women, and I really want to thank both of them for their mindset and their support. And I'm sure that there's going to be lots of men watching this session that can learn a great deal from their approach and their philosophy. So thank you for that.
I agree.
Thank you very much. All the men who participated, because, I was talking to some guys and I was calling them and I was, hey, I would love you to be there at the Global Online Women Empowerment Summit. And he was like, what will I do there? I was like, I invite you to talk about your insights about empowerment. And then he was like, all right. So you have to explain, right? Because today in the world, the definition of empowerment went wrong. It became a fashion world, and everyone is using it to label the brands, to get some viewers, to make a big brand about it and make money off it. And it's it's becoming something that is not what it's meant to be. Like Wassim was talking about the female energies and the feminine and the masculine energies. We all have it. And whoever is embracing it is more successful, because we are living in the emotional intelligence era where everything is so important. The feelings. This is the only thing that will differentiate, as I always say this. AI is coming. The only thing which is differentiating us from the robots is our feelings, our routines, our traditions, the wisdom that, for example, Gina have from South Africa, telling those African stories. Which AI machine will do that? None of them, because they can tell the story with the weird voice telling like this, or even intonation, right? But can you connect to them? Does it have the rooted power? Never ever.
There's no emotion. Yeah, like you said, a robot's only going to report the facts. It's not going to report the feelings. And that I love how you said that. That is so important. Emotional intelligence is such an important thing that we all need to work on to have better relationships with ourselves and others.
Yes, exactly. And the feminine power, because when feminine energies are there, people care. It's just mother nature, right? So if you embrace that, then you care more. So you don't start wars, you don't start to kill people, you don't start good politics, which are not nonsense, right? Because you have the caring power. So yeah, that's all. I will stop talking, and I thank you all again one more time. And I have to go to my next session with the Balinese healer and Sophie from Netherlands. They will talk about mindfulness. So thank you very much for the audience too. Listening, and check back your videos and check back on Facebook and YouTube and comment, because they are waiting for your replies, I think. So just comment on all those posts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you very much. Thank you for everyone. Have an amazing day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
It began with a bold vision to build KL Metropolis, a development that would establish a new international trade and exhibition district in Malaysia, built in partnership with the government by Naza Group's property arm, Naza TTDI. The crown jewel of this grand vision is the Malaysia International Trade and Exhibition Centre, the preferred international destination for exhibitions and events. Like the fine gold and silver threads of the Songket weave that inspired its facade design, MyTech is the embodiment of refined craftsmanship, creativity, and precision. As Malaysia's largest exhibition centre, MyTech's functional spaces are unprecedented. Primed for exceptional displays, surrounded by state-of-the-art facilities and amenities. This iconic structure